What would you do if you caught your husband secretly flirting with your own sister at 2 a.m.? That's how my nightmare began. A couple of nights ago, I discovered my husband exchanging messages with my sister. It was late, and when I confronted them, they both accused me of overreacting. Honestly, I'm still reeling, feeling like I've stepped into some bizarre alternate universe. Sleep has been elusive since then, and I desperately need an outside perspective because my mind is in chaos. It all began when I woke up at 1:47 a.m. to the faint vibration of my husband's phone on the bedside table. He's usually a deep sleeper, oblivious to notifications, but I was inexplicably wide awake, senses sharp. At first, I assumed it was a work email or something mundane. But then his phone screen lit up, and I saw my sister's name. For context, my sister and I have a complicated relationship, not super tight, but not entirely distant either. She's outgoing and charming, while I'm more introverted and reserved. I've never had a solid reason to doubt her loyalty, but seeing her name on his phone at nearly 2 a.m., my stomach churned. I hesitated, trying to rationalize it. Maybe she was in trouble or had sent a random late-night text, but the phone buzzed again, and again. By the third notification, my instincts took over. I picked up the phone and entered his passcode. We've always shared our codes, or so I thought. What I read made my chest tighten. The messages weren't overtly scandalous, but they were far from appropriate for a brother-in-law and sister-in-law. Things like "still thinking about earlier" and "wish you were here." My sister's replies were equally troubling. "You're making me blush, and we shouldn't be talking like this, but you're too much." I felt nauseous, my hands trembling so much I nearly dropped the phone. I scrolled further and found weeks of messages, flirty emojis, shared secrets, and mentions of times they'd been alone. One text from him stood out. "You looked stunning last week. Wished I could have kissed you before you left." I recalled a family dinner where my sister had left early. It seemed harmless then, but now every memory felt tainted. I sat there, wondering if this was a nightmare. My husband slept peacefully beside me, snoring softly as if nothing was wrong. My breathing grew shallow, and I debated waking him up. But I needed more clarity before jumping to conclusions. Was I misreading this? My thoughts spiraled. After 10 minutes of internal debate, I took screenshots of the texts and sent them to my phone for proof. Then I lay in the dark, staring at the ceiling, grappling with what to do next. The next morning, I couldn't hold back. As soon as he woke, I confronted him, showing him the messages and demanding an explanation. His response floored me. He wasn't apologetic or even surprised. Instead, he got defensive, grabbing his phone and accusing me of violating his privacy. "Why were you snooping?" he snapped. "You're making a big deal out of nothing." Nothing. I pressed him on whether those messages were appropriate for my sister, and he insisted they were just harmless fun, calling me paranoid. I was stunned. He turned it around, saying, "Your insecurity is why I can't open up to you." Somehow, I was the villain. When I pushed for answers, he shut down and stormed off, dismissing my concerns as drama. Later that day, my sister texted me, "Relax, you're blowing this out of proportion." Excuse me. I tried calling her, but she ignored me, sending curt texts that made me feel unhinged. My husband and sister were painting me as the problem, and I felt completely betrayed. I started questioning every interaction between them, wondering how long this had been happening and whether it was more than texts. I felt trapped in a surreal nightmare, unsure how to proceed. Update. Things have spiraled in ways I never imagined, and I'm still processing the chaos. After my initial confrontation, my husband acted like everything was fine, brushing off our argument and telling me, "We're done discussing this. You're being absurd." Then came a family gathering. My mom hosted a small dinner, and both my sister and husband were there. I didn't want to attend, but I refused to let them think I was cowering. The tension between them was palpable. They barely spoke, avoiding their usual casual banter. I couldn't tell if it eased or heightened my unease. I tried to act normal, but every glance or awkward moment felt like a clue to a secret I wasn't part of. Then in the kitchen, I caught them standing too close, whispering. They sprang apart when they saw me, my husband mumbling about grabbing a drink and my sister flashing a fake smile. My blood boiled. I pulled my sister into a bedroom and demanded answers. She played dumb at first, but when I mentioned the text, she smirked and said, "You're still obsessing over that. It's not what you think." I asked her to explain what I was supposed to think about those late-night messages. She laughed, actually laughed, and said, "You're so insecure, it's kind of pathetic." I was livid. I told her this wasn't about insecurity, but about respect and boundaries. Then she dropped a bombshell. If you're so worried about his texts, maybe ask yourself why he's been pulling away from you. Ever consider it's because of how you act? I was floored. She was blaming me for their inappropriate behavior. When I pressed her, she shrugged and said, "I'm not the issue here. Maybe if you focused on your marriage, you wouldn't be in this mess." I was trembling with rage. I stormed out and confronted my husband, demanding to know the truth. He sighed, acting exasperated, and said, "This is why I didn't tell you. You always overreact." When I asked if he was having an affair with my sister, he laughed it off, saying, "An affair? Really? She's your sister?" He called the texts jokes and accused me of twisting them. Every time I sought clarity, he deflected, bringing up irrelevant issues like, "Remember when you went out and didn't text me back?" I didn't make a fuss. It was maddening, like we were speaking different languages. My sister later told me, "Let this go or you'll ruin your marriage over nothing." Nothing, that's what they kept calling it. That night I dug deeper, checking our bank account. I found suspicious charges, hotels and fancy dinners I'd never attended. I remembered my husband's solo weekend trip to clear his head. It no longer felt innocent. Then my cousin mentioned my sister had stayed at our house while I was away for work, something no one told me. My husband brushed it off as no big deal. I felt gaslit, alone, and questioning reality. Final update. I wish I could say things improved, but they've only gotten worse. What I've uncovered has shattered my trust in my husband, my sister, and even myself. I'll never view relationships the same way again. I decided to stop being passive. I needed the truth, no matter how painful. The turning point came when I overheard my husband on a late-night call, thinking I was asleep. He was pacing in the kitchen, whispering angrily. I caught my sister's name and heard him say, "Stop messaging me, she's already suspicious." My heart raced. I recorded part of the call and sat there, trembling. This was no misunderstanding. The next morning, I invited my sister over, pretending I wanted to resolve things. My husband was visibly nervous, but I stayed calm to avoid giving them ammunition to twist the narrative. Once they were both there, I laid it out. "I know something's going on. I've seen the text, heard the calls, tell me the truth." They denied everything at first. My sister rolled her eyes, saying, "You're being ridiculous. There's nothing to confess." My husband stammered, but I saw panic in his eyes. Then I played the recorded call. Their faces fell. My sister froze and my husband's composure cracked. He admitted they'd been texting and flirting for months, but insisted it was only emotional. My sister jumped in, saying, "See, it's not what you think," as if that made it okay. I pressed them about the hotel charges and her staying over while I was gone. They had no answers. Then my sister lashed out. "This wouldn't have happened if you weren't so distant and controlling." My husband nodded, adding, "You've been so cold lately, I didn't know how to reach you." I was done. I told them their excuses were pathetic and that I'd been nothing but loyal. I shut down my sister's interruptions and felt a surge of clarity. I kicked her out and told my husband our marriage was over. I packed a bag and left to stay with a friend. The next day, my mom called after my sister ran to her, playing the victim. I told her everything, and she was appalled, promising to confront my sister and support my decisions. But then a mutual friend revealed another blow. My husband had been sending her flirty texts too, for months. She'd stayed quiet to avoid drama. It hit me that this wasn't just about my sister. He was a serial manipulator, and I'd missed the signs for years. I've filed for divorce and cut contact with my sister. I'm not sure if I'll ever forgive them, but I'm focused on rebuilding my life and trusting my instincts again. The lesson? Always listen to your gut. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Never let anyone, no matter how close, invalidate your feelings. I doubted myself for too long, and I won't make that mistake again. If you liked this video, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our future stories. Catch you in the next video.